I remember the summer light in that house more than anything else. How it slanted in through the tall windows in the late afternoon, turning the dust into slow golden snow. I was 12, spending the season with Aunt Margaret, who lived in the old yellowed farmhouse at the far end of Ashford Lane. My parents said it was so I could breathe real country air, but I think they simply wanted their silence. Aunt Margaret was kind in the way very quiet people can be. All her tenderness folded into teacups set just so, and biscuits left cooling on the windowsill. She kept no radio, only the slow ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, and the occasional wind pressing against the wood. I learned to mirror her stillness, to walk softly between moments. The upper floor had 3 bedrooms, though only 2 were ever entered. The third, at the far end of the corridor, had its door locked. Not angrily, but as though it had been shut for so long, the air itself had grown solid there. When I asked about it, she said only, "It's better if we leave some rooms to rest." I thought little of it at first. Days were full of the scent of warm hay, the strange music of frogs in the still evening pond, the creak of floorboards giving their little laments as we moved about. But sometimes, after the house had gone to sleep, my book would be open to a page I had not yet read, a dry and pressed sprig of lavender marking the place. Once I found my shoes by that locked door, heels turned toward it, as if I had stood there for some time, listening. I never told Aunt Margaret, though sometimes, as she poured tea, I caught her studying me in a way that was not unkind, but unbearably sad, her eyes carrying that same silence as the locked door. One late afternoon, heavy with that syrupy gold light, the air in the house shifted. There was no sound, yet I knew the door at the end of the hall had unlocked. It was a certainty that rose in me like a remembered name. I walked up slowly, each stair giving its complaint, and saw the door standing the smallest fraction open. Inside, the air was cooler, salted with the faintest scent of rain on old wood. The room was bare, except for a wardrobe with its doors ajar, and a small bed pressed against the wall beneath the window. The quilt was patterned with faded violets. On the pillow lay a photograph, worn soft at the edges. Aunt Margaret, much younger, holding a little girl about my age. The girl's hair was pale, her dress simple white cotton. Her eyes were dark, and their gaze seemed fixed just over my shoulder. When I blinked, the photograph was gone. I turned, thinking I'd dropped it, but there was only the floor, and beyond it, the open hallway where the late sun fell in long amber strokes. That night, I woke to the sound of someone breathing in my room, too close, too careful. I kept my eyes closed, but the air had changed, grown cooler against my skin. My hand, resting on top of the quilt, was brushed lightly, deliberately, as though someone were trying to anchor themselves to the world through me. My heart went still, the way it does before thunder. In the morning, Aunt Margaret told me my parents had written. They wanted me home sooner. Her voice trembled on the word sooner. I left that same afternoon. She pressed my hands and said, "You've been polite. That matters more than you know." I did not see the farmhouse again for 53 years. Only last month did I return, after a letter arrived. No sender's name, only my own written in a hand that felt eerily familiar. Ashford Lane is overgrown now. The fences bowed, the fields all but claimed by briars. The house leans subtly, like a body long accustomed to listening. Inside it smells of softened timber and time left untended. Dust still dances in that same sidelong light. The upstairs hall was the same hushed tunnel it had always been. And there, at the far end, the door to the third room stood open, waiting. The quilt still lay on the bed, the violets barely visible now. Sunlight fell across something, placed exactly where the pillow met the headboard. A photograph. In it, Aunt Margaret held the pale-haired girl, her eyes dark, fixed on a point just beside the camera. Only now I understood. The girl in the photograph was me.